Firefly the game is an adventure game based on the hit science fiction TV series. It's designed by Sean Swigart and Aaron Dill and published by Gale Force 9.
In Firefly, each player is the captain of a Firefly-class transport ship attempting to outwit and outgun their opponents. It plays with 1 to 4 players in 2 to 3 hours.
Players start Firefly by choosing a story card, which determines the game's winning condition. Each player gets a shipboard, starting drive and ship, 3,000 credits, 6 fuel, and 2 parts. The card decks, tokens, and dice go next to the board, and the Alliance and Reaver ships are placed in their starting sectors.
Players take turns choosing a leader, and then the player who chose last places their ship in a starting space of their choice. The rest of the players take turns placing their ships, and ships cannot share a starting space. Each player draws 1 job card from each contact deck, and then discards down to a hand of 3. The top 3 cards of each supply deck are placed in the discard piles of each respective deck. Then the game begins.
On their turn, a player can take 2 actions, and they may not take the same action twice. They can buy, fly, deal, or work. Now, flying lets you move your ship around the board in one of 2 ways. You can go to full burn by spending a fuel token, and then you can move a number of sectors that's equal to your drive's range. Now, every time you enter a new sector, you have to draw a navigation card from the matching deck and resolve it. Instead of full burn, you can mosey, which means you only move 1 sector, but you don't have to spend any fuel, and you don't draw any cards. Now, if at any point while you're moving around the board you run into either the Reaver or the Alliance ship, this immediately triggers an event you have to resolve, and it may end up costing you cargo, passengers, or even crew.
Many navigation cards give you the choice of 2 options to resolve. Now, some of these options are skill checks. The skill can be fight, tech, or negotiation. So to roll a skill check, you roll the die and you add +1 for every appropriate skill icon that's on your crew or on your gear. Now, your total is what's going to tell you how that skill check is resolved.
Buying lets you purchase fuel and parts from one of the 5 supply planets, and you can also hire crew and buy items from that planet's matching deck. Now, when you're shopping, you can consider up to 3 cards, which are drawn either from the discard pile or from the top of the deck, and then you buy 2 of those by paying the amount listed on the card.
Crew members and gear will give you skill bonuses and special abilities that you can use on navigation cards or on jobs. Ship upgrades, which improve the performance of your ship, are placed in the 3 slots on your ship card. You can have up to 6 crew, and each one of those crew members can have 1 piece of gear. You can deal with a contact while on their planet by taking jobs from them in the same way that you purchase items. So you consider 3 and you take 2. Now, you can never have more than 3 inactive jobs in your hand and 3 active jobs on the table. If your reputation is solid with a contact, you can also sell them cargo and contraband at the prices listed on the back of their card. To work a job at your current location, place the job card face up on the table and decide which crew you're going to assign to it. Next, make sure you can meet any needs listed on the job card. Now, delivery jobs are moving people or things from one part of the board to another part of the board, whereas crime jobs will require that you misbehave.
To misbehave, a player is going to draw a number of misbehave cards determined by their job and then resolve them one by one. Like the navigation cards, these are going to give you one of 2 options to resolve, and your crew or the gear that you've brought along with you will give you keywords that give you either a bonus to misbehaving or might even let you bypass certain cards entirely.
If you get the attempt botched result, that means that you fail in that attempt, but the job stays active and you can try it again on another turn. If a warrant is issued, that means that you fail in the attempt and you lose the job. You discard that card. You also take a warrant token. Now, if you have warrants on your ship or on a member of your crew, then that means that you will run into more trouble when you later encounter the Alliance cruiser.
Success on a job means that you get paid for it, and your reputation with the attached contact becomes solid. Now, you also have to pay your crew the amount that's listed on their cards, and any unpaid crew member becomes disgruntled. Disgruntled crew can get hired away by another ship in your sector, and if somebody ever becomes disgruntled a second time, then they immediately leave your crew and go back to their discard pile.
If a crew member is killed, they are removed from the game entirely. Now you can't kill a leader. The leader instead becomes disgruntled. If a leader becomes disgruntled twice, then they fire your entire crew.
A player with nothing else to do in a sector that contains a planet can take make work and earn 200 credits. Now, after you've taken your 2 actions, it's the next player's turn. The game continues until one player has resolved all of the goals on a story card in order, and that player wins.
So Firefly is definitely a game for fans. If you are a fan of Firefly, Serenity, any of that world, you are going to love the amount of detail that's in this game. The art, the components, the backs of cards, the flavor text, everything. It feels like whoever made this game put a lot of love into really bringing that world into this game. It's incredibly well realized. That being said though, even if you're not really a fan of the brown coat world, you're still going to enjoy this game. There's enough challenge and enough strategy in this that it's not just for fans, for sure, which is great. There is a little bit of a lack of complexity, maybe, in a few of the mechanics. It is quite a simple game once you get into it, so that could frustrate some people that it's not as complex as potentially it could be. Also, I found that it was a little bit solitary. Once in a while, I got into sort of the feeling that I was playing sort of multiplayer solitaire and there wasn't enough interaction with other people at the table, and that could frustrate some people as well.
Now, one thing that some players are definitely going to find frustrating about Firefly is that 2-hour playing time listed on the box is really, really optimistic. There's no timer in this game. There's nothing that gives it a real sense of urgency except for the motivation of the other players. If everybody is really, really focused on accomplishing the goals and pushing through the story, then yeah, you could get it done in 2 hours. But it's totally possible to spend that amount of time just kind of tootling around the board, doing jobs, enjoying the atmosphere, and never really getting around to resolving the story until somebody remembers that that's the point of the game. I happen to like that aspect. This game for me fills the niche that Arkham Horror does for a lot of other people, where it's an experience game first. It's about immersion in the theme, it's about immersion in the atmosphere, in the setting. As Joanna said, it does that fantastically. And Firefly specifically does a nice job of this because it's a sandbox game. You don't have that set track of what you have to do. Your actions aren't predetermined on your turn. You can do pretty much whatever you want, whether it furthers the story or not. And that makes it a really, really great kind of lazy Sunday afternoon game, which is a niche that hasn't been filled for me all that well in the past. Another thing that I really like about it is that it solos quite well. There aren't that many games out there that scale well all the way down to one player, and this one does. When you're on your own, you tend to be a little bit more goal-oriented, so it plays a little bit faster with one player, but there's still so many different options and so many different paths that you can take that it remains interesting and exciting even when it's just you on the board.